Nicky Spurgeon, a con artist, makes a stop at a bar in New York City. There, he spots a beautiful young blonde woman who seems to be in distress due to a man bothering her. She manages to break free and approaches Nicky's table, seeking refuge. Her name is Jess. After sharing a few drinks, she persuades Nicky to come back to her hotel room, where they start kissing. Suddenly, a man bursts in, brandishing a gun and threatening Nicky. Jess claims he is her husband. Nicky then jokes about having cancer, which makes Jess realize he knows about their scheme. He comments on the poor execution of their plan and offers suggestions on how they could have successfully robbed him before leaving. Intrigued, he follows Jess after she exits the hotel and invites her for coffee. Nicky shares a story about two partners in a failed scam, where one had to shoot the other to create the illusion of independence. These partners were Nicky's father and grandfather, with one using something called the Toledo panic button to shoot the other. Jess begs Nicky to teach her the tricks of the trade. He agrees and explains that conning requires focus. Outside, Nicky elaborates that attention acts like a spotlight, while they must operate in the shadows. He continues, explaining that the human brain is slow and cannot multitask. One must enter the victim's mindset and see things from their perspective, all while he discreetly takes items from her. He wishes her luck and leaves. Nicky then moves his operations to New Orleans with his partner Horst and his own crew of con artists. Meanwhile, Nicky grapples with a gambling addiction, having lost money on a horse race. A few days later, Jess finds Nicky after researching him. She asks to join his team. Nicky agrees to give her a chance and quickly introduces her to Horst, who is already aware of Jess's impending arrival. It's Super Bowl week, and the city is alive with excitement. Jess takes part in a practice session with the group. They navigate the crowded streets, where they pilfer watches, handbags, and various pieces of jewelry from unsuspecting victims. Nicky is impressed by her skills and invites her to join their crew. They also take her to a hotel casino, unveiling more of their operations, which include identity theft and credit card forgery. They even set up fake ATMs to capture people's PIN codes. Jess meets Farhad, Nicky's friend and accomplice, who is involved in even more complex schemes. Farhad seems to overlook Jess, asking about her and whether Nicky will be involved, which he certainly will be. Despite his attitude, Jess feels drawn to him. While explaining their operations with the stolen data at their base and how they split the profits, Jess notices a necklace she likes, but Nicky tells her that everything they steal must be sold to avoid leaving any traces. When Jess inquires about a major con that could allow them to retire instantly, Nicky simply replies that they are in bulk business and that grand scams are just a fantasy. Nicky asks for a stack of cash to place a bet at the racetrack, while all bags are checked and the money counted. He arranges a place for Jess to stay, and when she asks for a ride, he suggests she take a cab instead, stressing that there should be no romantic involvement between them. However, sometime later, he approaches her, and they start a romantic relationship. Jess asks Nicky why some people call him mellow. He explains that his father used to call him that, saying he was soft like a marshmallow. Nicky believes that emotions have no place in this game, as they can lead to deadly outcomes. The night before the big game, after all the cheating is done, Nicky addresses the team, congratulating them on a record-breaking week that brought in $1.2 million. He sends everyone home with the usual promise that he will send them their share. Horst gives Nicky a bag full of cash and insists that he promised not to use it for gambling. Nicky agrees while Jess watches. Nicky and Jess are heading to a football match, where Jess shares her dislike for the sport. In response, Nicky proposes small bits between them, like whether a fan will catch a hot dog or if someone will be too drunk to join in the wave. They notice a woman in revealing shorts and bet on how many men will look at her as she walks by. Jess bets on 8, while Nicky bets on 3. A curious man named Mr. Luyen joins their betting and places a bet of 5. As the woman passes, 7 men glance at her, with Jess being the closest to the correct number. Luyen suggests they place bets on the football game, but Jess declines, citing her lack of knowledge about football. Nicky, however, agrees and bets $1,000, which he ends up losing. When Nicky wants to fold, Luyen almost begs him to keep playing. Reluctantly, Nicky agrees and raises the stakes, only to lose again and hand over the cash. The stakes keep increasing as they continue to play. After losing $100,000, Jess forcefully gives Nicky the bag of cash, insisting they must leave. He takes the money, puts it on the table, and bets all their remaining cash, $1.1 million, on a simple high card draw. Luann is thrilled, calls, and draws a 5. Nicky feels a rush of excitement as the odds seem to favor him, but when he reveals his card, it turns out to be a 3. He loses everything their team has worked for. Jess sits down in shock while Nicky stands there, stunned. Finally, Nicky reaches his breaking point and says he wants to leave. Mr. Luann mocks him, saying, "That's what you get for playing with the big boys." Nicky turns back and decides to double the bet again, challenging Luann to pick any player on the field, claiming he will guess who it is, a task that seems nearly impossible. Mr. Luann. As Jess nervously looks through the binoculars, Luann gives her a chance to back out. Jess glances at Nicky, who seems to be urging her to take this chance to withdraw, but Nicky insists she must make a decision. Jess anxiously scans the players again. Suddenly, she spots Farhad in a number 55 jersey. She smiles and chooses him, and to everyone's surprise, except for Nicky's, that turns out to be the right choice. During the cab ride home, Nicky, now holding a large sum of money, reveals to Jess that this was all planned from the beginning. He knew Luann was a seasoned gambler, so he arranged for Luann to see the number 55 throughout the day, subtly guiding him to pick that number at the right moment. Nicky then tells the taxi driver to stop as another car approaches from behind. He instructs the driver to take Jess to the airport, leaves her share of the money, and departs without saying a word, leaving Jess confused and heartbroken. Fast forward 3 years. In Buenos Aires, Argentina, Nicky is working with billionaire race car owner Rafael Garriga and his associate Owens. They have developed a revolutionary fuel burn algorithm that will give them an edge in the upcoming season. However, Rafael worries it might not be enough. Therefore, Nicky is tasked with posing as a disgruntled former employee of Rafael and selling a fake version to McEwen, his main competitor. This way, while the competition lags, he can speed ahead. Nicky attends a party at Rafael's mansion. When he orders vodka on the rocks, he asks the bartender for water instead, as he is an alcoholic, to create the impression that he is getting drunk. Nicky mingles with the guests. As he approaches Rafael for his plan, he sees Jess coming down the stairs in a stunning red dress and is momentarily frozen. She catches his eye. Nicky seems downcast and opts to get a glass of vodka. However, he is served water instead, as another bartender has alerted everyone to his predicament, leaving him without a drink. After having some appetitus, Nicky takes on the persona of a disgruntled employee. Yet, instead of just pushing Rafael, he punches him in the face, unleashing his pent-up frustration over Rafael's relationship with Jess. After Owens escorts Nicky out, he runs into McEwen's guard, who hands him McEwen's credentials inviting him to lunch. The next day, during lunch with McEwen, Ricky finds it hard to concentrate on their discussion. He feels irritated and watches Jess, who is flirting with Rafael. They agree to reconnect later when they have solid proof that the fuel-burning algorithm Nicky possesses is genuine. Nicky approaches Jess when she is away from Rafael and warns her not to trust him. She retorts by asking why she should trust Nicky after he left her. As she walks away, she tosses his wallet back to him, indicating that she remains sharp. Ricky strikes a deal with McEwen for €3 million after data suggests that Nicky's fraudulent algorithm could be credible. Nicky puts in a lot of effort to get closer to Jess, using sneaky tactics similar to an elderly woman who misplaces her handbag just to start a conversation. Jess responds to Nicky with everything he wants to hear in a flirtatious manner, and just before they kiss, she softly whispers, "I've learned a lot since we last met, and I'd love to show you, like how I learned to manipulate men, just as I did with you." She warns Nicky to keep his distance, insisting that she won't fall for his tricks again. In a last-ditch effort, Nicky recruits Farhad to convince Jess that she should give Nicky another chance and that he regrets his actions in New Orleans. He hands her the necklace she had her eye on 3 years ago. Nicky successfully initiates another conversation with her. He reveals that he has been out of work for several years, feeling it is inappropriate to mention, and that he even sought help from his father. Jess cuts to the point, asking, "What do you want from me?" Nicky insists that he has changed, but despite her wish to trust him, Jess finds it hard to accept due to his past dishonesty. Jess leaves, and Nicky follows her. When he returns to his hotel suite, he finds Jess waiting at his door. They share a tender moment. The next morning, he tells her he plans to leave that night and hopes she will join him. Just then, Owens arrives at Nikki's door. Nikki tries to send him away, but Owens enters while Jess tries to stay out of sight. Owens expresses his frustrations about the younger generation and Nikki's lack of progress in his career, pacing around the apartment as if looking for someone. Jess manages to sneak out to the balcony, successfully avoiding Owens, who leaves after dropping off a package. Nikki ends up selling Raphael's authentic algorithm not only to McEwen, but also to every other racing team for the same price. He wishes them all good luck, to which he receives the reply, "Who needs luck with friends like you?" This deal amounts to around 27 million euros in cash. Nikki finds out that his actions have been uncovered, but he hesitates to leave without Jess. With time running out, he grabs his luggage and opens the door to find Jess, who apologizes, saying, "Sorry I am late." One of McEwen's guards buys unusual items at a store, catching the cashier's curious eye. After a quick meal, he checks his watch, fastens his seatbelt, puts on his protective gear, and speeds off, crashing into Nikki's car. Jess and Nikki are kidnapped and taken to one of Raphael's warehouses, their mouths taped shut. Raphael had infiltrated McEwen's company as a spy to keep an eye on Nikki. He reveals to Nikki that he knows Nikki sold the authentic algorithm to McEwen for $3 million, but with $27 million in his bags, he suspects Nikki sold it to several buyers. Raphael demands to know how Nikki obtained the real algorithm. He pinches Jess's nose until Nikki starts to talk. Nikki eventually admits that he used Jess and placed a bug on her necklace, which captured Raphael's computer password when she returned to his hotel room. Jess begins to cry. Raphael laughs, recognizing it as a lie, and removes the tape from her mouth. She confesses to Nikki that Raphael is not her boyfriend. She only wanted his watch, worth $200,000. She never had a sexual relationship with him and was never in his room, despite Raphael's attempts to seduce her. Jess orchestrated this to make Nikki jealous and to get back at him. Nikki decides to tell the truth, but just as he starts, Owens shoots him in the chest, shocking Garriga and causing him to run away. Nikki appears to be losing blood while Jess cries and declares her love for him. It seems Nikki is close to death until Owens reveals he shot him in a precise spot to avoid major arteries, even though he punctured his lung. Owens extracts blood from Nikki's lungs and revives him. He then calls Nikki Mellow, leading Jess to realize that Owens is Nikki's father, Bucky Spurgeon, who was part of the plan all along, and that they just executed the Toledo panic button. The package Owens left for Nikki one morning contained the real algorithm. Owens drives Nikki and Jess to the nearest hospital. He brings to Nikki's mind his earlier comment about pouring one's heart into the con game and adds that he will claim all the money.